Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Livia Manka, and today I'll be doing a presentation on access to clean water. The focus of this presentation is to use a system thinking-based proposal to implement MIT's solar-powered desalination system in rural communities around the world, especially in third world countries. So first, we're going to have a hot topic overview. So to give you guys an idea about how the lack of access to clean water affects the world, I'm going to go over some statistics. So clean water and sanitation are essential for health, dignity, and sustainable development. Millions of people lack access to clean water and sanitation, which lead to increased susceptibility to preventable diseases and health inequalities. 2.1 billion people lack safe water, while 4.2 billion people live without safely managed sanitation. So which means they could actually have clean water, but they don't have good sanitation system, which will eventually infect or contaminate their water system and then end up getting them sick. Populations affected are mostly rural and marginalized communities in low-income countries. And it says that at least 1.4 million deaths annually and 74 million disability-adjusted life years are lost as a result of lack of access to clean water. And children are highly vulnerable due to diarrhea and malnutrition and other diseases that come from waterborne diseases. And that's due to the lack of access to clean water. We have key determinants like poverty, poor infrastructure, lack of investment in clean water initiatives like the water hygiene and sanitation, also known as the WASH system, which contribute to the inaccessibility of clean water in the world. We also have contributing factors like climate change that lead to water shortages. We have certain parts of the world that are impacted by severe drought yearly, and we have other areas of the world that have constant rainfall. And we have, when we think about industrialization in the world, we have areas of the world that are highly industrialized, and this all it ends up affecting the planet, and it contributes to global warming. And all of this contribute to global changes which end up affecting our access to clean water in the world. The lack of clean water leads to increased prevalence in waterborne diseases. Economic implications include lost productivity due to waterborne diseases, which cost billions annually. So the goal is for community-led and global water sanitation and investment in sustainable water infrastructure. Now we're going to look at our innovation, and we'll be talking about MIT's solar-powered desalination system. So now MIT is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and they came up with this wonderful innovation, which is to use solar energy to clean up seawater, basically desalinate seawater, take out all the salt and minerals in seawater, and convert that water into clean drinkable water. So that's basically what desalination means. So I'm going to read the technology or give you guys a brief overview of how the technology works. So MIT's solar-powered desalination system is an innovative technology that harnesses sunlight to remove salt and other minerals from seawater, producing fresh drinking water. And it is done through the process of utilizing photovoltaic cells to harness solar power and an electrodialysis reversal or EDR process to remove salt and other impurities from water. So MIT's solar power desalination system runs on renewable solar energy, which reduces carbon emission, eventually making it environmentally safe and cost efficient. MIT's solar powered desalination system has higher water recovery rates compared to conventional reverse osmosis systems, wasting less water in the process. So MIT has come up with this technology that uses salt water, cleans it up, and transforms it into clean drinking water. It removes all the salt and all the minerals from seawater, transforms it into clean drinking water. And for this to happen, it uses solar energy, which is already a green technology. It's a safe technology compared to other desalination systems or technologies that use fossil fuel to power their systems. So here we're using solar energy, which is safe for the planet. And with the reduction in carbon emission, that's making this technology safe for the planet and helping to prevent global warming. And he also talks about the reverse osmosis system, and that compared to other conventional systems that use a process called reverse osmosis, they use a lot of water and or waste a lot of water in the cleanup process. But MIT's technology uses less water in their cleanup process. So that is a very good technology, considering that we are in the process of saving water. We're trying not to waste water, and we're trying to make whatever little water we have affordable and available to the world. And we want to make that water clean and drinkable to the rest of the world. So this technology they first came up with this technology in 2020, but the initial technology had some defects. They had difficulties in disposing the salt and minerals and other impurities that was harnessed or harvested from the seawater. So they had to go back and work on the technology and engineer the technology. And in 2023, that's when they announced their new solar power desalination system, which some sources say is the best in the world right now. And we hope, since it's a new system, we hope it stands the test of time. So what's the impact of this innovation? So one of the first impacts of this innovation that we're going to look at is the scalability of this technology. So it covers the amount of water being produced, or the amount of clean drinking water that's being produced by this system. Is a lot of water to provide drinking water for up to 400 people a day. It says that MIT solar power desalination system produces up to 2,000 liters of clean water per day, which is sufficient to meet the daily needs of about 400 people. That's meeting the needs of a lot of people. And it also has a low energy consumption rate, which is approximately 0.5 kilowatts per cubic meter of water produced, compared to other systems which consume around 3 to 5 kilowatts per cubic meter. And it is also considered to be environmentally safe because it reduces carbon emission by up to 70%. So in order for us to implement this technology, we're going to require certain resources, and there are also some potential barriers that we anticipate in the implementation of this technology. So the first and foremost, or the most important aspect of this implementing this technology is funding. So the initial capital investment to purchase and install this solar system, it's not cheap. It's very expensive. It's very expensive. So it is estimated to cost about $50,000 per unit, and the cost of installation is estimated at about $10,000 per installation. So funding is going to be very important. We need to be able to raise funds in order to implement this project. The initial cost is expensive, but in the long run, it becomes very affordable and very cost efficient or cost effective. So we will need training. We'll need training for the technical training for the local operators. Since we are doing this implementation in rural communities, we'll need to train the people, the local people, how this technology works. That way, we'll be able to maintain the systems in the long run. And we also need to have access to this technology. This is state-of-the-art technology that was developed by MIT. So if we're going to go have this implemented in these rural communities, we have to make sure that we have access to this photovoltaic cells and the EDR membranes and all the technologies and systems and the things that are needed in order to implement this technology. We have to make sure that there will be easy access during the implementation process. Also, we'll need infrastructure. Depending on where we are implementing this technology, we have to make sure that we have the proper or the right infrastructure to implement these solar systems. And the potential barriers that we may face, as mentioned before, financial constraints, the initial cost of installation, which is very high, the technical expertise. We will need to have our technical experts go out into these rural areas and do that initial training, be out there for a couple of months or however long it's going to take to train these local people and get them up to speed until they're able to manage the systems on their own. And then not just that, we'll need to have some form of a maintenance relationship. That way there could be communication between the technical experts and the local communities, even after the installation process, in case of any emergencies that may come up. And we have to think about things like supply chain issues. Given that we are doing this installation in rural communities, we may face challenges like poor roads, poor infrastructures. How do we transport this solar systems or these desalination systems to these remote rural communities? So these are all issues that we'll have to anticipate and work towards. Community acceptance. Most rural communities may be biased towards new technology. So we have to make sure that this technology, the importance, the impact, we have to make sure that it is gradually introduced into the society. Here we'll need the help of our community leaders to gradually introduce and educate this community on this technology, why it's being implemented, and how it's going to benefit them. It could, they have religious beliefs, cultural beliefs that could make them biased towards modern or foreign technologies. So it's going to be a gradual process to gradually introduce new technology into these communities. Stakeholder identification. So in order for us to implement this technology, we have to identify our stakeholders and start working with the stakeholders. So first, we need our local government. We're going out to rural communities in foreign countries. We need to work with the local governments to make sure that all the laws and regulations are followed, no laws are broken, and we dot all our I's and cross all our T's and meet whatever regulations, and to make sure that our technology meets up with the regulations, the laws and the regulations of that country and that rural community. And also these local governments could also help with assistance, like provide some government subsidies that may help support these communities in the installation of these systems. So we have our non-governmental organizations or NGOs that will help in the implementation of the system. They could help with things like training, awareness campaigns. We have some good NGOs that work with clean water initiatives and campaigns like WaterAid, Life Water International, UNDP, or the United Nations Development Program. These are all good NGOs that it would be good to partner up with in order to get support to implement this initiative. our private sector partners. We could have private sector donors who could help us in securing grants. They could offer their technical support or technical expertise. And then we have our community leaders who serve as a bridge between the community and implementation teams. They are a very, very important factor or very, very important stakeholder in this implementation process. They are the bridge between the community and the implementation teams. So it's going to be very, very close collaborators with our community leaders in order to implement this technology. They will help to mobilize community members to participate in this project. And then we have our academic institutions who could help in so many ways. They could help to serve as training or research centers. They could also help in conducting surveys, which is very, very important. They could help to collect feedback, help in data analysis, because the feedback is very important in order to evaluate the implementation process to see areas of improvement that is needed. And here we'll take a look at our rollout process. So these are our goals, our objectives, our goals, and the time frame needed to complete these goals and objectives. So if you look at it, the last two right here, our community engagement and our feedback, these two right here, they are an ongoing process. It starts from the beginning of the implementation all the way to the end of the implementation, and it is ongoing even after the implementation process. And the other goals and objectives, we have a detailed time frame for when we want them to be completed. So first, before we start this implementation process, we need to do a needs assessment. We have to do a feasibility study to see if this community where we want to do the installation, is it the right fit for this technology to be implemented? And then we have to do our partnership formation, start collaborating with our potential stakeholders, make sure if there are any contracts that need to be signed, get them signed and locked, and secure those commitments and start working on our project teams. Secure our funding, start working on applying for grants, do fundraising to make sure we have enough funds to implement this project. And then next we have to analyze and evaluate the site of the installation, given that our feasibility studies prove that it's a good fit for the community is a good fit for the installation and implementation of this project. Then after our fundraising, we'll have to work on preparing the site for the installation. If construction is to be done, if we need to construct necessary infrastructure, or if we need to retrofit already existing infrastructure to make sure that it can support our system that will be installed. And then the next step will be the installation process itself, assemble the parts needed to set up the desalination system. And once installation is complete, we have to test the system and ensure that the system is actually working. And then next, we have to monitor and evaluate. Once the system is implemented, we'll have monitoring system put in place to monitor the system and make sure it's properly working. And then make sure we have regular testing of this system, constant monitoring, and just to ensure that we are constantly producing clean water. And as I mentioned earlier, community engagement is going to be ongoing, and our feedback is going to be ongoing and constant throughout this process. Success evaluation measures. What are we going to do? What are the things we're going to do to evaluate our measures of success? How do we know that this implementation was successful? So first, for the technology itself, we'll have our KPIs or key performance indicators installed, and These monitoring systems will be used to measure the system's performance, to make sure that the system is working up to par, and to make sure that we're constantly producing clean drinking water to the community. And then we'll have surveys done to engage community participation, to gauge the response and reaction of the community, to see how are they responding to this installation or to the implementation of this system. What kind of feedback are we getting back from the community? Are we getting positive feedback? Are we getting negative feedback? What are our areas of improvement based on the feedback we're getting from the community? In community health impact, this right here is a very, very important aspect of this implementation process, because the end goal at the end of the day is to make sure we have clean drinking water to prevent waterborne diseases, to prevent illness. So the long-term goal is to evaluate and see if we have decrease in waterborne diseases, decrease in mortality rate of children and adults in general. What is our rationale for this implementation? So rural communities face severe water insecurity, making them susceptible to preventable diseases and economic losses. Third world countries are greatly affected, especially due to socioeconomic factors or lack thereof, and health disparities that put them at risk of getting sick and increasing their mortality rates. And a great number of populations in these rural communities lack adequate access to safe drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene globally. So what's our rationale? These people don't have clean drinking water. They don't, some of these communities don't even have access to water at all. And most of these communities have very, very poor sanitation systems. So the little water that they may have ends up being contaminated, and they end up getting sick or dying of waterborne diseases like cholera, dysentery. And all this can be prevented if they have access to clean water. And with access to clean water, that will lead to good health. And with good health means higher lower rates of mortality. And if infants stop dying early, people stop dying early, they live healthy, longer lives. And that will help boost the economy in the long run, because you have more people to live who live long and contribute to the economy of these countries or these societies. For our acknowledgements, so this proposal was generated with the help of AI. I use the AI tool ChatGPT to generate this proposal. The questions, I structured the questions that I wanted for my presentation, and I ran these questions through ChatGPT, and then it generated basically a response. It generated a proposal. So what I did was validate the response that was generated. I had to validate it with credible sources to make sure that the output from the AI tool was valid and trustworthy. So one of the issues with using AI tools is that, or one of the challenges we use in AI tools is the potential for bias, and bias could come from the mind of the developer. Because basically, I always say an AI tool is basically the mind of the developer, or the developer, the mind of the people who put the tool together. So if these developers have a biased mind, there's a tendency for this AI tool to have some type of bias in certain instances or situations. So there is that aspect of bias when using some AI tools, and there's also the issue where most AI tools tend to use dominant sources as the resources. So you ask a question to an AI tool, and they will use a very dominant source to get their information from. And that could be kind of limiting the pool of information from where the pool of where the information is being gathered or generated from. So, like I said, what I did to address this bias situation is I validated the response generated produced by AI. I validated it against multiple credible sources to make sure that these answers were actually substantial or they were substantiated. And again, just critical thinking. What am I writing on? What's my topic about? What does my topic entail? And based on the idea or that I have about my topic, I was able to use critical thinking of some sort to be able to validate the answers generated by the AI tool. All right, so this brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or need any clarifications, please feel free to call or text. My contact detail is on the very last slide of this presentation. So thank you guys for your time.